The first time I saw her, I thought I'd stumbled into a dream. I was on Lyria 9, a remote orbital colony on the edge of the Andara system. My assignment was simple: inspect and repair the colony's atmospheric stabilizers. But the moment I stepped onto the observation deck overlooking the violet seas below, she appeared. The alien woman moved with a fluidity that seemed impossible, as if gravity itself bent around her. Her skin shimmered faintly like opalescent glass, reflecting the light of Lyria's twin suns. Long, elegant legs carried her across the deck in a silent, graceful stride. When she turned to look at me, her golden eyes, so impossibly wide and luminescent, met mine, and my breath caught. "She's beautiful," I muttered to myself before I even realized I had spoken. Her reaction stunned me. She paused mid-step. A faint blush colored her cheek-like markings, a phenomenon I hadn't expected from an alien species. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. Not the harsh, alien laugh I had imagined, but a soft, musical sound that echoed like chimes through the deck. "You find amusement in admiration, human?" she asked, her voice melodic yet tinged with curiosity. I swallowed hard. I didn't mean to offend. I was just being honest. She studied me carefully, tilting her head. Few beings speak with such candor. Most are cautious, calculating. I nodded nervously. "Guess I'm not most beings." Her smile widened, and in that moment, the impossible became tangible. I realized I was no longer merely a technician on a repair mission. I was caught in the orbit of something extraordinary. Over the next few days, I found myself drawn to her presence. Her name, I learned, was Lyrain. She wasn't a visitor, she was the chief scientist of Lyria 9, overseeing the colony's most delicate research on atmospheric stability and biotic adaptations. Yet her reputation extended far beyond the scientific sphere. Lyrain was revered among her people for her intelligence, grace, and unmatched composure even in crisis. I accompanied her on inspection rounds, pretending my interest was purely professional. But each moment spent in her presence was a battle to remain composed. When she moved to adjust a sensor or recalibrate an energy field, the sheer elegance of her gestures mesmerized me. And the way her eyes would flick toward me when she thought I wasn't looking, it was impossible to ignore. Then it happened. We were monitoring a newly installed atmospheric regulator, its energy core pulsing faintly. I leaned over to double-check a connection. Without thinking, I said the words that had been burning in my mind for days. "Your Grace, it's stunning." The words hung in the air, heavier than I anticipated. Lyrain froze. The glow in her eyes intensified. Then, slowly, deliberately, she turned to face me fully. And what she did next made my heart stop. She reached out her hand, brushing mine with the lightest touch possible. The energy ripple from her skin felt electric against mine, sending a jolt that traveled from my fingertips to the very core of me. "You see me," she whispered, almost shyly. "Not just my work, not just my role, you see me as I am." I blinked, unable to speak. For the first time in my life, someone alien or human looked at me not as a tool, a worker, or a stranger, but as a person. She laughed softly again, a sound that seemed to resonate with the very hum of the station. "Few dare to admire without expectation. You are different." That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared out at the violet horizon, trying to process what had happened. Her touch, her gaze, the sincerity in her voice, it wasn't just physical attraction. It was the recognition of humanity in a place where no human had belonged for centuries. The next morning, Lyrain approached me with a different demeanor. Professional, but with a warmth I hadn't noticed before. "Human," she said, using my species designation with an unusual inflection. "You have a way of noticing details others overlook. Perhaps it is why you survive here so unscathed." I chuckled nervously. Or maybe I'm just lucky. Luck is merely preparation meeting opportunity, she countered. And perhaps, a measure of courage. Her words stayed with me as we conducted our work over the following week. We faced unexpected challenges. A breach in the atmospheric regulator threatened to destabilize half the colony, and a sudden solar flare forced us into emergency protocols. During one of these crises, I watched her move with precision and control, directing the emergency drones, recalibrating the energy cores, and coordinating the evacuation of the lower decks. I realized then that her grace wasn't just aesthetic, it was functional, honed by years of responsibility, intelligence, and resilience. When the danger subsided, I found myself standing beside her in silence, both of us watching the twin suns dip below the horizon. I said nothing, unsure if words could ever capture what I felt. Then she turned toward me, her golden eyes reflecting the dying light. "You are brave," she said simply. I laughed softly, embarrassed. "I'm not. I just react." "You react with honor," she said. "And that is rarer than bravery itself." Days turned into weeks. I found excuses to remain near her, to assist her, to share moments that had nothing to do with work. She, too, seemed to seek my company, though always with a measured distance, a delicate dance of closeness and restraint. It wasn't until an emergency power outage plunged the colony into darkness that the unspoken tension between us fully erupted. I stumbled through the corridors, searching for the emergency control hub, and ran straight into her. "You're reckless," she scolded lightly, though her voice carried concern rather than reprimand. "And you're stunning," I said impulsively, my heart hammering. Her response was immediate. Without a word, she grabbed my arm and pulled me into the narrow maintenance corridor for safety. There, in the dim glow of emergency lights, our proximity was undeniable. The warmth of her body, the faint hum of her energy, the softness of her gaze, it was intoxicating. For a long moment, we simply stood there, breathing, aware of the distance we had both strived to maintain yet now incapable of preserving. Then, she spoke. "You see me as I am," she repeated, almost a question this time. "And I find that I wish to see you as well." My chest tightened. "Lyrane. I do not know what this means," she whispered, "but I know it is something rare, and I do not wish to waste it." From that night onward, our bond deepened. Small gestures, a shared meal, a hand brushing against mine, a lingering look across the lab became a language all our own. Despite the alien customs, the interspecies gap, and the ever-present responsibilities of her role, a profound intimacy emerged. It wasn't without challenges. Rumors circulated among the colony staff, jealousy and suspicion whispered in dark corners. An energy anomaly in the atmospheric grid threatened to tear apart the city's dome, forcing us to work together under extreme pressure. And through it all, I discovered her courage was as immense as her grace. One night, as we stood overlooking the violet ocean, she turned to me. "Human, do you know the risk of being here? Of caring for someone like me?" "I do," I said, "and I've chosen it anyway." Her golden eyes softened. "Then I will trust you. Fully." It was not a declaration of love in the conventional sense, but something more profound, a recognition of mutual vulnerability and the willingness to face it together. Months passed, and the colony stabilized. The repairs we had worked on together held, the atmospheric regulators functioning perfectly. Our professional collaboration had blossomed into a partnership that was both emotional and intellectual. Then, the moment that would forever change my life arrived. We were inspecting the upper solar arrays when a sudden gravitational surge threatened to tear us from the station. Lyrane reacted instantly, anchoring herself and reaching for me. Her fingers brushed mine, and in that split second, the station lurched violently. I was thrown against the railing. She caught me mid-fall, her strength and precision flawless. Our eyes met, and in that moment, Words were unnecessary. Her courage, her grace, and the connection we had nurtured for months coalesced into a singular truth. We could not deny what had formed between us. Without hesitation, she pressed her forehead to mine. You are extraordinary, she whispered. And I cannot imagine this place without you. My heart raced. Lyrane. She smiled, soft and radiant, and took my hand. Then let us see where this leads. Together. The aftermath of the incident brought the colony's governing council to us. They had observed the bond we had formed and, surprisingly, approved of it not as a political alliance, but as a legitimate partnership. The unusual human-alien bond had proved beneficial to the colony's stability and morale. In the weeks that followed, Lyrane and I moved forward cautiously yet purposefully. We navigated the complexities of our species, learning each other's customs, humor, and subtle social cues. And each day, I found myself more captivated by her grace, her courage, and the unexpected warmth of her heart. Standing together on the observation deck where I had first seen her, I marveled at how much had changed. The violet seas stretched endlessly below, the twin suns casting golden streaks across the horizon. Lyrane's hand rested in mine, her touch familiar and reassuring. You shocked me, I said quietly, the first time we met. She laughed softly, the same musical tone that had captured my attention months ago. And you surprised me. Who would have thought a human could see me, truly see me? I smiled. I'm glad I did. She turned to face me fully, her golden eyes reflecting the fading light. So am I. For the first time in both of our lives, there was no pretense, no roles, no expectations, only the understanding that what had begun with admiration and a fleeting blush had grown into a profound connection. And in that shared silence, with the stars beginning to pierce the twilight sky, I knew that whatever the future held, we would face it together, grace, courage, and hearts intertwined across the galaxy.